every day I'd go on and my recommended would be flooded with just Walking Dead reactions. And like, I loved it. I loved it. Sounds a bit evil, but I loved going on and watching people like cry and freak out. You know, you see people reach for the tissues and they're like, and it just makes you feel like, oh, other people love this like I do. Other people are just as invested as I am.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast. I am your host, Neurochronic, hosted by Passion Fruit as well. I'm here with, in my opinion, one of the seminal voices in the reaction community, the reaction space. Truly, this is someone who I've followed since, I started getting into reactions because of specifically the fandom that she is involved with, Walking Dead, one of the biggest fandoms in the reaction community. That's no doubt about it. It is the wonderful Katie O'Shaughnessy.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And oh my God, what an intro. If I wasn't nervous before, I am now.
Yeah. No, the reality of everything is that I have really been eager to speak with you for years, actually, because I used to do interviews like this on a small podcast I had back in the day. And I would talk to, creators and reactors that I wanted to meet and just get to know. And I kind of put that on the back burner once I got some new jobs and everything like that. But now I'm working with Passion Fruit, who's given me the means to do this. And when I pitched them the idea of like a Reactorverse podcast to speak with people, yes, you were one of the first names I thought of, because I couldn't imagine, truthfully, the reactor space without your contributions to it and like your voice in it.
Oh man, that's I can't even, anytime anyone says anything remotely kind to me, I just die inside. So that really does mean an awful lot to me. Thank you so much. Like I said, thank you for even thinking of me. That's nuts.
Of course.
That's nuts.
Yeah, of course. I want to get into, just your whole experience, your journey with the channel, and like your part again with just the whole space around reactions and fandom. So to start with, first, I know, happy birthday. It was your birthday last week and you went to the Harry Styles show.
I sure did. Thank you so much.
I know music has been like a huge part of your life, from what I can, see on social media and online and some of your videos as well. It's just been such a huge part, along with like obviously the Walking Dead and other fandoms you've been a part of. You started out the channel with music. You were just posting concert videos on like a here and there from your experiences going out. I guess before you started the channel for reactions and Walking Dead content, was there ever an idea that you wanted to do something like music based for the channel or anything creative like that?
It's so weird that you ask me that, because I, like so many other people, if you have an old YouTube account, I'm sure you know yourself, you've had it from back in the day, and it was more so to kind of just so you could watch other people or like comment on other stuff. But yeah, you're so right. I used to just upload concert clips. Mm-hmm. I still do, but I used to go to so many concerts, and that was like my way of compiling them and keeping them all together and keeping a track of them. I used to love, and I know that's a very sensitive topic. Some people hate when people record at concerts, but I love it, because like I find it so easy to get overwhelmed in the moment if you're not processing everything. That at least when you go home, then you have the recording on your phone, so you can go back and rewatch it. I never really, like when it comes to YouTube, I never set out with, I'm going to do anything. So even when I was uploading the concert clips and stuff, it was never, this is the road I want to go down, or this is what I'm going to do. Or even when I started reactions, it was never, this is going to be my niche. I'm going to totally get into this. I'm going to go all in. It just kind of happened. But there was a hot second when I was younger that I wanted to get into photography, specifically for concerts. That still to this day is like, as kind of a dream that's been shelved. I'm going to come back around to it probably at some point, but I love concert photography. I love it. But yeah, in regards to YouTube, I don't think I ever really considered anything,
Right.
which is kind of weird to say given where I am now.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it starts. That's how it starts. You know, you really start with just like the passion for one thing. It evolves into something else, and like it becomes a snowball effect of like you eventually get to the point of like, okay, now this is just something I'm invested in, and you become sort of an expert on it just because of the feeling you get from being involved with it. I spoke to my friend Cal Katarn, who has a Star Wars channel. I told him is particularly interesting when I can speak to someone in this space who has a singular focus on like a singular IP, and that's kind of like their niche, their brand. And for
Mm.
you, obviously Walking Dead is your brand. It's been your brand for several years now, and you've
Yeah.
been a staple in the Walking Dead community for the voice of like kind of what the fandom looks like, I think. And so I guess the big question is like, how did you discover the Walking Dead? What's the origin of like that that love you have for it?
That's another funny story, and I always feel so bad every time I tell it. I've always been very obsessive. So like you said, I love music. I love I've always loved shows. I like movies as well, but specifically TV shows, long form that you can sit down and over a course of a few months just binge this whole universe. But I never really had any particular genre that I gravitated towards. I just love TV in general. So one of the earliest I can remember is Supernatural. Oh my God, loved that. Obsessed as a teenager. I also loved like things like Prison Break and stuff like that. And my dad actually got really into The Walking Dead back as somewhere in season 1. And I remember he asked me like, "Hey, come watch it with me. I think you're gonna like this," because I did love horror, but I didn't like zombies. I hated
Right.
zombies. It was the one genre I wouldn't go near because they frightened me.
Really?
So I was like, I don't want that. That's not for me. And every time a new season would come out, he'd be like, "You have to start this. I'm telling you, you're going to love it." And years passed. I resisted. And then I went through a particularly bad breakup, and it was just a rough time. And I had kind of exhausted every other media that was out at the time. And my dad just slid in there again with, "You haven't seen The Walking Dead yet?" And I was like, if you shut up, I will watch it. So we made that deal. I want to say I binged through like 2 or 3 seasons in the space of 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
And it was love at first sight. It was instant.
Yeah.
And to this day, he doesn't let me live that down. Every time anything Walking Dead comes up, he just looks at me and I'm like, "Shh, yes, you got me on this path."
Yeah, we all owe it to him. Yeah.
We do. And anytime anything happens, anything exciting happens regarding like the channel, or if I'm going to a convention, every time he says it to me, he's like, "Hey, imagine if I'd never asked you." Every time, but it's true. It was down to him.
Yeah.
Because like I dabbled a bit, I guess. Like I had seen 28 Days Later, and I'd seen a few of the old classics when it comes to zombie movies. And I don't know, there was just something that would just unnerve me. And I was like, it just wasn't really my thing. And then The Walking Dead got its grip in me, man. And I was obsessed.
Yeah, I know, because one of your early videos was like an explanation for like how to attend Walker Stalker Con, and that was obviously something that you had done yourself. What was that like? I guess in those early days of the fandom, before I think it sort of evolved into what it is now in the social media space. Going to Walker Stalker Con on your own, like in those early days of the era.
I mean, like Walker Stalker, I mean, it's been a hot topic, you know what I'm saying? Like as a convention,
Right.
there's been some stories and whatnot, but back in the early days, man, I think a lot of people can agree it was, if you were a Walking Dead fan, it was the place to be. You know, there was truly, because like I love conventions and I've been to so many at this point, but to this day, those first few Walker Stalkers that were in London, nothing compares to them. I had done, I think I had done a tips or like a get ready with me kind of style video for the very first Walker Stalker that I went to. And at this point, I don't think I'd done anything really in front of a camera. I don't even think I'd started reactions. But
Right.
like, I had been to so many concerts and so many events that like I'm an obsessive packer. So I'm one of these. You bring your battery packs, you bring your spare bottles of water, all these kind of things. So I made like a advice video on what to pack for like a long weekend at a convention. And the first Walker Stalker that I went with my dad. Again, he's like the resident Walking Dead fan in this house.
Right.
And we were coming out of our hotel to go to the venue. And this dude, super chill guy, I think he was cosplaying somebody, but I can't remember. But as he was walking past, stopped, he went, I saw your tips video for Walker Stalker. I got my spare bottles of water and my spare battery pack. And he just kept walking. And that feeling of like, he saw my video.
Yeah.
That was absolutely insane. And to this day, I've been to a lot of conventions. I've been to a lot of events where people will come up and start up a conversation, or, they'll ask for a selfie. But to this day, that's still one that sticks with me. Because I was like, that was the first example of like,
right.
Whoa, like you can have some sort of reach online.
Yeah.
But man, those conventions were something.
Yeah, it's it's important. It's important to like, once you get the taste of like that sort of tangible effect that the channel has on people, it becomes like a thing of like a motivation to keep doing it, because you're not speaking into the ether. Like there's someone on the other end that's listening, that's hearing what you're saying.
Dude, exactly.
It's palpable. Yeah.
It's like you said, it's so easy to feel like you are just kind of yelling into a void, because it's hard when you can't see or directly talk to people like this. I mean, you can respond to comments and stuff, but it's hard for it to feel real, especially in the beginning.
Right.
And I was balancing a full-time job on top of like when I started to get my channel up and running, and it was trying to find the time to record and edit, as well as working, as well as family life, and it was really hard to explain to people. But there was, I think it was 2018, it was either 2017 or 18, I brought my mom to a Walker Stalker. And at this point, the channel had started really gaining traction, and I was, getting into the groove of doing reactions weekly and doing kind of episode breakdowns and stuff. And I remember that weekend it was nuts. There was people coming up to me, because everyone that was there for The Walking Dead. So they were super invested. They were super online and in it. I remember people came up to me in, I think it was Queen Victoria. It was a train station in London. Mm-hmm. And my mom she was like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, like this is all Walking Dead fans. This is my world,
Yeah.
And as we went through the convention, and as more people came up, and they were like, dude, I know you from Twitter or from YouTube or whatever. I think that's when she started to realize, oh, you're not just yelling at yourself in your room. People are like receiving it, Right. Yeah. I think that's why I love the memories of those conventions so much as well, because it's when it kind of became real.
So, but yeah, because one of the early videos you made about Walker Stalker Con and your experience with it was that you bought the gold pass for one of your early attendances for that, and the way you explained it was like you did it on a whim because you wanted to just throw yourself into something that could give you a new experience. And I had a similar experience personally because, about 2018-ish, I was also just at a crossroads with my life, sort of trying to figure out like, what do I want to do, creatively, productively, with myself. And I found what would become a great passion, which is it was a show called the Movie Trivia Schmodown. It was a movie trivia show that was really big at the time. It had at the height of it like 300,000 subscribers of people who were watching it, and there was it was a movie trivia league based off of like UFC and wrestling. So it had like characters, had like deep cut trivia, stuff like that. It was very, very fun. But I did a similar thing where like they had their first live event, and I was like, you know what, I apropos of nothing, I'm just gonna buy the VIP ticket, go just experience it. And yes, I ended up becoming just a really important part of my life. I ended up working for the show as their promo editor down the line, and being like, not to pat myself on the back, but a very integral part of like how the show evolved in the last, several years of its tenure. And that experience to me was, I think, such a palpable way to get involved in something that you really love. And for you, that was Walking Dead. That was Walking Dead when you got involved through your channel and Walker Stalker Con, the fandom, stuff like that. Was there a process behind sort of figuring out you want to do something creative, for the show beyond just like, giving tips and stuff like that? Was there anything that evolved into like what the reactions would become?
Yes and no. I've always been a very creative, kind of out there person, like as you can see, you know? I mean, office jobs, all that kind of stuff, it wasn't for me. Even as a kid, like I was always this weird balance of being super extroverted and out there and loud and also incredibly shy and incredibly introverted, you know? So like I was working retail at the time, which I loved my shop and I loved the people that I worked with, but it wasn't for me, you know?
Right.
I've always been very obsessive about media in particular, all types, like I've said. But I never really considered that that could be a job or that that could be anything. It was just something that I liked, something that I ran away to hide in, you know? And then after Walker Stalker, I think I started reactions sometime around one of the conventions that I went to. And I mean, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about editing videos. I remember I had to Google, like, how do you edit a video? I
Right.
didn't know how to do it. I didn't even have the picture-in-picture, so I didn't even have the episode on screen with me because I didn't know how to get it on the screen, you know? But I
Yeah.
was like, man, I know people are obsessive about this show and I know that they love it like I do. And I just
Right.
wanted to kind of be a part of that. I wanted to get talking to people, you know, maybe get into some friend groups or some group chats with people that also love the show. And yeah, 2 or 3 reaction videos in, it kind of started to work out for me. People would leave comments or they'd follow me on Twitter and be like, I love it like you do. Like, you're obsessed. I'm obsessed. Like, let's be friends. And I think oh my God, when did I start? I started somewhere. I think
In it was 2016. It was season 6, like episode 12, I believe.
I love that you know that and I don't. I'm there going, oh my God, when did I start? I knew it was somewhere near the end of season 6. And
Yeah,
what
it
a
was
time to come in.
yeah, those last few episodes, season 6, leading into the cliffhanger, the big gap going to season 7. Very very tumultuous time for the show.
Right? And as
Yeah.
someone who was brand new to the scene, I didn't, like, you're coming in with like zero idea of what to do or how to be. And I've always been pretty unfiltered. But
Right.
something I'm very unfiltered about are characters that I love or like my favorites in shows. And it just so happened that Daryl was one of my favorites. And I will never ever forget the end of the episode where Dwight shoots Daryl.
You'll be all right.
What the fuck was that? And I lost all chill, all cool. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was not flying with me. And I got a bit of slack from that. I got a bit of, the usual that you get, like, a Daryl fangirl kind of
Right.
stuff. And I was
Yeah.
there in the corner like, I am, and what of it? But yeah, man, it just kind of snowballed from there. But I don't think there was ever really a moment where I decided this is it.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any plan. I just really wanted to get into, like you said, a fan base that was so prevalent and
Right.
there,
Yeah, again, The Walking Dead was such a huge catalyst for, I think, the reaction space, because it was
Yeah.
like that, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. Those were the 3 shows I think really pushed the genre or the medium, whatever, forward, with people wanting to share their experiences and their thoughts with it, because it was such like a huge hit show that had like sort of this like almost like prestige level of like anticipation and like discussion around it. And then like you said, for those first several reactions, you didn't have like the picture in picture. You were still kind of learning along the way. I guess
Yeah.
what was that experience like? That learning curve of trying to get through, editing and like, finding video and like just refining your craft for the first several videos for that last half of the season.
It was stressful because it was like the recording of it's easy because it is just you turn on a camera and just go.
Right.
But the editing, I struggled with so bad in the beginning. I really struggled with 'cause friends of mine were getting into it, I think, at the same time as me. So I had friends of mine telling me, no, like, you need to get this software, you need to get that software. And I am not good with technology. I am
Right.
just not. I try, it's not happening. So I researched, like, what is the most easiest basic software that a 5-year-old could use. And iMovie kept popping up everywhere. People were like, it's super straightforward. It's very easy.
Yeah.
It turned out I didn't have an iMac. I had a MacBook Pro. So I had a little Apple laptop, and it was already installed in it. And I was like, cool, I already have it. So I just kind of learned from there, I guess. I mean, there was many stressful nights where, even at the time, my laptop was old. And she would shut down mid-export of the video.
Right. Oof, right.
So I'd be sitting there thinking, please just export the video. And it would you'd hear the sound of the fan turn off, and you knew that was it. That you have to boot it up and do it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, to this day, editing is still something that I'm not that big a fan of. Huge props to people who can do it and who love it, because I just find it so difficult. And my attention, she walks away, she gets up and walks out of the room, and I'm here trying to focus. It's something I never really fell in love with, was the editing side of things.
I can understand that. Yeah, I'm an editor, but it's not for everyone. Trust me. It's tedious. It's like putting a puzzle piece together every time. That isn't super creative, especially depending on the edit. It's like very linear, for a lot of it. But like we said, you were getting involved in the show for the reactions in the last half of season 6, going into the cliffhanger, and then season 7, the big, premiere with Negan. And that was such a controversial time because people weren't very happy with the cliffhanger. And then like the how the season premiered, you could love or hate it depending on just your personal feelings about how it was executed. Do you recall the sort of zeitgeist around like the show and the fandom like at that time, and how that affected just your input on the channel trying to navigate that?
Yeah, I remember. I distinctly remember the screen fading to black after it was revealed, like, oh, that you're not going to find out who it is. You know what I mean? Like the credits rolled and it landed that's it. That's where they're ending it. The rage I felt inside my body, I thought I was going to smash my room to pieces. No joke. And to this day, I don't think I've ever felt that like passion for a moment in a show. I mean, like, it was so huge. And then you hop online to see what everybody else is saying, and everyone is kind of echoing the same thing of, oh my God, like, how could they end on a cliffhanger? We're going to have to go all summer.
Yeah.
But I remember in the lead up to season 7, I don't remember feeling excitement about the premiere of a show the way season 7 made people feel. I mean, there was people breaking down shot by shot, like editing photos to try and turn up the brightness to see if you could see someone's shoulder, or what side. What was it? Was it the blood on Rick's face? What side of his face was it on?
Oh, right, yeah.
Do you remember all of that?
Yeah,
so it was
and people were analyzing the backgrounds behind Negan and trying to see like where the trees were, like triangulated.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. I remember once the dust had settled, I was cool with it because it was genius. Looking back on it, it was genius to ensure everybody tuned in for the season 7 premiere, and they did. I mean, friends of mine who didn't watch the show, who didn't care, like people that I know who didn't watch the show, were still talking about it. They were like, so who do you think is going to die in the next episode? And I was like, you don't even watch the show. Do you even know who's in that scene? And they were like, no, but I just know that someone's getting it. Like, it was massive.
It was big. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a huge boom because, again, I think The Walking Dead owes like a significant, portion of its reception to like reactors, truthfully, because I think they really help perpetuate like the conversation of like, oh, go back and like see how people feel about it, and they want to talk, and it cycles through like that. And for that premiere, like that was such, if there was a history on the evolution of reactions, The Walking Dead would get a huge chapter on that premiere alone, because it was such like a huge boom for everyone, like thinking like, I want to get involved, I want to have a voice in like this conversation. And several channels that I found cropped up because of that singular episode, and they have gone on to just they're still here doing things. And so when that episode premiered, I believe, unfortunately, the video is no longer on your channel. At least I couldn't find it in my research.
I have it. It's there. It's just, it got copyright blocked.
Right, right.
And the amount of times I have people say that to me, there's certain ones along the way that are missing. And
Yeah.
I had someone say to me recently, they were like, of all the videos. And I was like, yeah, man, I know. I mean, back then, my God, you get copyright blocked right, left, and center.
Right.
I think the Skybound one is still up. You
Oh,
know,
the compilation.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
think it might be.
almost
Yeah.
certain that's still up, and I think there's bits and pieces in there. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's certain videos that I probably will have to go back and try and re-edit and see if I can get them back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice any boom or shift in, like, I guess personally on your channel, but also in the conversation, the cultural conversation about it after that premiere?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so many people were like, I want to get in on this. I want to be a part of
Right.
it. You know, and people that had never gone near a camera or done anything like that before were setting up their iPhones in the corner of their room just to
Mm-hmm.
capture that moment, you know? I mean, I remember that week, the episode aired Sunday night, that whole week after, every day I'd go on and my recommended would be flooded with just Walking Dead reactions. And like, I
Right.
loved it. I loved it. Sounds a bit evil, but I loved going on and watching people like cry and freak out. You know, you see people reach for the tissues and they're like, and it just makes you feel like, oh, other people love this like I do. Other people are just as invested as I am, you
Yeah.
know? Regarding my channel, yeah, that was a huge time for my channel. I mean, it was jumping every day, day by day, like the videos themselves, but also subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like steadily kind of each day. That was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a point, I guess maybe around that time, that you felt like, oh, I'm getting some actual traction with this thing. This is like official. Like I'm dedicated to this thing now.
Yeah, I think it was sometime around mid-season 7, I think, that I would notice that the numbers were consistent every week. It wasn't just a once-off. You know,
Right.
each week people would come back and it would slowly climb week after week. And I was like, okay, well, you know, my love for this isn't going anywhere. I could
Mm-hmm.
sit and talk all day, every day about this. I could talk to
Right.
a wall and hold a conversation about why I love this show or whatever. Yeah, I think it was around season 7 that I was like, okay, there was somewhat of a rough plan put into place where it was, I'm going to do reaction videos and then I'm going to do chat videos regarding the episodes. You know, Q&As based on The Walking Dead, see what people are saying, what people are thinking, what they hope to see in upcoming episodes and stuff. Yeah, around mid-season 7 towards the end, I think. Because,
Right. Right.
like you said, there was a boom at the end of season 6 and at the start of season 7. So
Yeah.
once that kind of faded and I was like, okay, but people are still coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, well, maybe there's something here. Surprisingly.
Yeah, because then the show, would go on for, as we know, but for, 4 or 5 more seasons with
Yeah.
with a handful of bumps along the way, with like people sort of, having their own opinion, but like, what they did or didn't like about the show. And I'll preface all this by saying, like, the show for me is very important because I discovered it, yes, around the end of season 1, and then season 2 I watched regularly, and then when season 3 was about to come out, they were playing a marathon of it on AMC, and I was at home
Yeah.
visiting my parents, and my mom was watching an episode as I was watching, and she was like, "What is this show? This seems really interesting." And so I was like, "Oh, it's called The Walking Dead. Like, it's kind of scary. I don't know if you like it." But we watched that, finished that episode. She's like, "Oh, I want to know what happens next." I was like, "Oh, maybe we should watch the previous episodes then, so you'll get what's going on." So we binge watched season 1, we binge watched season 2, and we both fell in love with it, and it became a show that we shared between the two of us, which we just didn't really have a show like that ever. Like, I'm pretty close with my mom, we don't have any issues, but I live in LA, she lives up in Central California, and we don't text every day or anything like that. But like, The Walking Dead was something that I am grateful I was able to finish, like, in its entirety, like, from beginning to end with her, and take up, like, yes, like almost a decade of my life with her. And I'll look back on that fondly because I never had it that with her. I remember the episode with the infamous dumpster, episode with Glenn. I was at work.
Dumpstergate. Yep.
I was at work, and she called me in the middle of the day, like, saying, like, I had to call you because I saw the episode with Glenn, and I was like freaking out, and I couldn't, I was jumping up and down. My dad said she was like jumping up and down out of the couch, screaming at the TV, and she's never done that for any show, like I think ever. And I remember that specifically and thinking like, yeah, that's very special that I'm able to just chat with her about that. And we were able to finish the show. Like I'm grateful that the show kind of finished because it feels like a sort of cathartic, experience to be able to look back and have that for myself with her.
Yeah.
But for the show, I guess, there's tons of, highs and lows that people have with it. For you, what was there ever a time when you thought to yourself, like the show is taking turns that you might disagree with, sort of creatively, even though you were clearly a diehard fan through and through?
The funny thing about that is the only point that I felt that, and I know this is a hot topic and I can already hear people yelling, the only time that I felt that was probably season 2, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, was it how strong and how full steam ahead season 1 was, that the kind of somewhat slower pace of season 2, for me, I was like, come on. That there were certain episodes that just dragged, or certain storylines that I didn't necessarily care for, or stuff like that. And it's funny because season 3 and 4 are probably my favorite seasons, and they came directly after season 2. Yeah, probably season 2, because I know people love that, and I understand for certain characters and certain things, it is quite a big season. But just, yeah, I don't know, thematically or the pacing of it as well, of season 2, I found to be a bit dragging its heels.
Yeah, I remember at the time when season 2 was airing, that was a pretty popular opinion, actually. A lot of people were like, coming hot off of season 1. They were like, oh, like this season is very slow, and I don't know how I feel about Glenn Mazzara coming on at the time to replace Frank Darabont, thinking that the tone of it had changed too much. Is there an era of the series that you particularly enjoy, more than others? Like if it's either through a season, arc, or like a showrunner that you think that was probably your favorite time?
I could talk forever about this. I loved the prison arc. The prison arc. I just, I think it was just what we needed after season 2, in my opinion, at least. I loved everything about it. I loved the set. I loved the drama. I just absolutely adored that. But I also, in my opinion, maybe it's because it's when all of this started for me, I find season 6 and season 7 to be my favorite. And to this day, if I rewatch the show, those are the 2 seasons that just hit me the hardest.
Right.
Because that's when this all kind of began for me. And and when I'm watching the episodes, I can remember what I was doing the day I sat down to do the reaction, to watch the episode for the first time. Or I can remember whatever was happening around the time that those episodes were airing. And it's, probably season 6 and 7, even though I know a lot of people said about the lineup that they can't go back and rewatch it because it's too much or whatever. Again, maybe I'm just a bit twisted, but I think that's one of the most fantastic scenes in TV history.
Yeah.
So 6 and 7 and the whole Savior arc and Negan coming in there swinging, loved it.
Yeah, I think my mom still hasn't rewatched that episode since we first saw it. She was
pretty
mine. Distraught. Yeah.
Same with mine. Yeah. My mom is the exact same. She was like, I ain't never doing that again. And she spent half of it hiding behind a cushion. She was like, no. Yeah. Once is enough.
Obviously from the dumpster incident, she's very fond of Glenn. And I remember when I read that scene in the comics, like it was very disheartening. It was very disturbing. I felt, really depressed after I read that in the comics. And then, so I know how she was feeling when she saw it on TV, for the first time. And she was very, very heated. She was very angry with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like specifically, she was not happy to see him on the couch in the Talking Dead afterwards.
I think a lot of people shared that opinion. And he's so charismatic as well. And he's so lovely that he does come on like with this larger than life energy. And he's just so happy to be there. And I remember that Talking Dead. Everyone in the audience was just sitting there looking at him. And he's like, no. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great time looking back at it, truthfully. And then you eventually evolved into, yes, becoming a fan of the show, but then starting to contribute your own voice in a different way by doing the interviews with the cast and crew of the show. I think the first one you did was with Carrie Payton. Is that correct? How did that come about? How did the decision to start doing that come about? And then how did you end up, roping Carrie in for that?
That is one of my favorite things I've probably ever done to this day. And
Yeah.
like how that even came about still baffles me. So, I'm sure as you know, I love talking. I'm very talkative. I'm very chatty.
Right.
And I love listening to people. So I mean, from a really young age, I would have these fascinations with, I would say actors, but musicians as well. So I would go through and binge every interview they ever did, every behind the scenes featurette that was possible that they were involved in. And
Right.
I just loved listening to creative minds speak, and you do kind of find after a while that a lot of the questions kind of follow similar patterns, or that there's certain questions that are with certain actors, there's certain questions that they always get asked. And when you click play on an interview, it's like you're waiting for that question to come up, and 9 times out of 10 it does. That's just one of the things you learn being a very obsessed fangirl, or being a very obsessed fan, I guess, as you would know yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was just after Zeke made his appearance, sometime around then, or it was just sometime after that, I went to, again, a Walker Stalker. My God, does everything lead back to those conventions? And I was like, I have to meet Carrie. Oh my God. He just seems like such a sweetheart. He's exactly as you'd imagine him to be, right?
Yeah.
He's super approachable and chill. So I queued up to meet him, and, nervously going through in my head what I was going to say, so I didn't mess it up, because I was like, I don't know, for some reason I was like, he'll laugh at you if you mess it up. Don't be stupid. So I'm there going through in my head what I'm going to say. Very nice guy. And then just before I left, he passed comment on my hair. At the time, I had like a mohawk or something shaved in. And I had just dyed it black. And he just passed comment, and he was like, I really liked it when it was pink.
Oh.
And
yeah.
I just kind of went, oh, cool, yeah, thanks. And then I stopped and was like, how'd you know I had pink hair?
Yeah.
And he was like, I've seen you online. I've seen your videos. Like, they're really funny.
Right.
The whole room came to a stop. I felt it's like I could feel the tension begin to like radiate off of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks, bye. And I just turned around and left. And I'll never forget trying to find my mother. My mother is my best friend in the world, and she does all of these things with me, all the events and stuff. So I was like, I gotta find her. I'm about to start crying in the middle of this convention center. So found her and was like, Mother. And she was looking like, yeah, was he nice?
Yeah.
And I remember all I said to her was, he knew me. And she was like, what do you mean? So I kind of told her, and she was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I think he followed me around that time on Twitter, and I sent him a message, and I was just like, dude, you made my day. You're such a nice guy, super chill to talk to. I love what you do. Something along those lines. And he responded and was just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like to echo what he'd said. He was like, I've seen your stuff, and your passion for the show is super out there.
Right.
And I think I left it for a little bit. And then I was like, man, I really want to talk to him. I want to hear about his experience behind the scenes, not just what it was like to be Zeke, but get into the real like nitty gritty. And I kind of knew, I was like, he strikes me as someone that has stories,
Right.
and I would love to hear them. And I think my viewers would love to hear them. So I shot him a message and was like, this could be way out of line. And if it is, totally okay. You can totally say no, but I'd love to get to chat to you about your time on the show. And at the time he was still really new. I mean, Zeke had only been in a few episodes, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And he was just like, let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah.
Again, second time he made my world stop.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, okay, didn't expect you to say yes. Such a nice dude.
And then what was the prep like that for?
The prep, oh my God. The prep for that was intense. I live with my family, so we're a very busy household, very hustle and bustle. Somebody's always running through the door or running out the door, or the dog is like barking at herself. So I told my family, I was like, listen, this is a big deal. You gotta be quiet. Because for some reason, like if someone hears a dog bark, the interview was ruined.
Yeah.
That's what I'd built it up to in my head. So I think my family went out that night because it was nighttime, because I'm in Ireland, as you know. So to accommodate for Carrie time wise, it ended up being quite late for me. I think it was at 10 or 11 at night.
Right.
And my family, went out, and I remember that whole day I had my little list of questions that I knew I was going to stray from, and I did, and he did, and it was grand because it all worked out. But dude, the nerves. I have never been more nervous in my life to sit in front of a computer.
Yeah.
Ever. Ever. And I remember I might have had a shot or two of something that is not water to try to calm myself down beforehand.
Yeah.
But total sweetheart, like super easy to talk to. You'd forget. He feels like somebody that you've known forever.
Yeah.
I
mean, I remember that interview, and I think you did a great job with it, truthfully, because I remember.
Thank you so much.
I think it helped with the fact that you were just a genuine fan of them, like the cast, and you knew a lot about what was going on. Like you had a great icebreaker with Carrie about his arm that he had like injured, I think recently at that point. So it's like that really helps when you really are a fan of someone and you get to know like their life sort of beyond the camera, and that influences your input for the interview.
Totally.
And that evolved into, yes, like you did more. You've done several at this point of like for cast and crew for the show. Is that something that you aspire to do more of? Like how do you feel about it now? Like that you have under your belt?
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favorite things to do regarding like work or content creation. As you know, I mean, like it's stressful trying to get in contact with someone, trying to get a yes.
Right.
And then trying to do your research, get the questions, trying to get the thing actually started is stressful. But yeah, I think it's probably one of my favorite things to do, and it's definitely something that I want to pursue.
Yeah. Is there anyone, I guess there probably are a ton, but is there anyone specifically that is like your wish list, like your holy grail?
Regarding Walking Dead?
Yeah, or maybe
the Walking
beyond
Dead
that
universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to get to talk to Norman or Jeffrey. Jeffrey very nearly happened once.
Really?
Very, very nearly happened once. I'd been in contact with him, and he knows what I do, and we'd talked a few times before, and we'd met at conventions, and we had a date set, and something happened. And he messaged me and was like, listen, I mean, I can do it at a push, but I'll be really pressed for time. And I was like, look, man, no worries. We can rearrange it. Totally fine. And we never got back around to it. I mean, he's such a busy guy. You know what I'm saying? He always has a show or a movie on the go. So I totally get it. But yeah, maybe Norman or Jeffrey, or I'd love to get to talk to Melissa as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, good on you for making that call for Jeffrey, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, people like that, they're just people too, and they're super busy, and they're all over the place. They're always doing promo or press or filming something. So I was like, I totally got it, and I never want someone to feel under pressure,
Yes.
So I was like, no, it's totally fine, and now I'm kicking myself, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like with the show, with Walking Dead, the longevity of the series played a major part in people's reception to it, because there was a time in like around season 8 or so they were saying like, oh, this show can go on forever. This show can go on. There is no end to it, and people were kind of like either yay or like, oh my god, like I don't know if I want to continue watching the show for my entire life. And they were also announcing the spin-offs, for The Walking Dead and The World Beyond, so on at that time. And then shortly before season 11 going into 10, I think they announced that the show was going to end, but they had plans for like the spin-offs and so on and so on. I guess what was your reaction or your thoughts about the show eventually coming to an end, and then what was your reaction to the multiple spin-offs that were announced like shortly after?
What was my reaction? No pun intended.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so like cheesy, but I remember where I was when it was announced that The Walking Dead was ending. I was at my brother's birthday party. It was my brother's birthday, and I just was like scrolling through Twitter, and I started to see post after post after post after post about the announcement. And I was like, there ain't no way. This is a joke. I couldn't believe it because it, like you said, the longevity of it, it did feel like something that would just be going forever, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, I grew up on Supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
That
So,
beast had like 15 seasons. I started that
true.
show when I was 14 and I was like 24, 25 when it ended.
Yeah.
So I always presumed The Walking Dead would be the same. And there was so much source material and there was so much creatively that they could stray from and create like bring up new characters, new villains. I never really thought it would come to an end. But yeah, it was weird like that, hearing that there is a final end date, that there is an end in sight, that now the cast and crew weren't just working on a new season, they were working towards closing out the show. It was crazy,
Yeah.
you know? And then with the spin-offs and stuff, I mean, I just love this universe. I am the kind of viewer and the kind of fan who will stick with, if I love something, I will just stick with it. I don't care where the ride's taking us as long as I'm on it.
Yeah.
That is very much my outlook. So I was super pumped for the spin-offs. I was super excited. And then, of course, the Rick movies turned into the show, the Rick and Michonne show. So like, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, Daryl's show has changed name, and there's been a lot of chopping and changing.
Right.
So I think when it comes to the spin-offs and stuff, part of me wishes they would have waited, maybe held off a little bit before announcing the spin-offs.
Right.
You know, because then you kind of had somewhat of a feel as to who you knew was going to make it out of the show. Obviously, if they're getting spin-offs.
Right, yeah.
You know?
That influenced a lot of people's opinions about, like how they saw the ending for the main series, because they said it felt like a setup for like, a bunch of like sequels that we were going to get.
Yeah, totally. And like, I do agree with that to an extent. I think I would have been really bummed out if they hadn't announced them and if they were just like, yeah, the show's ending.
Yeah.
You know, because then you would have
right.
been under the assumption that was it. But I do feel like they should have maybe waited a little bit in regards to announcing the spin-offs. But I'm just so happy we have them. You know, we have our characters in some form, and there's the potential for other characters to pop up and cross over. So I'm delighted.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But beyond that though, over the course of this channel, you dabbled in other shows but you mainly kept on your Patreon. Like you're reacting, editing things that you would put behind on your Patreon, and then keep The Walking Dead just for your main channel. What was the choice behind that? Behind just sort of making sure the channel was just dedicated to Walking Dead?
I mean, I think it's because there's so many creators that I like and that I watch in all different fields. And the people that I tend to gravitate towards are people who keep a lot of their energy or a lot of their content focused on a particular thing. And I find it easier to kind of really click with someone's content when it is kind of more grounded in one thing.
Yeah.
You know, that you're not going, oh, so-and-so posted, but it's this video and I don't really like this. You know, I'll wait and catch the next one. And yeah, I like to really keep my channel very rooted in The Walking Dead, which it still is. I mean, I'm doing all The Walking Dead, the main show's over now, but I'm doing all the spin-offs and there'll be, episode breakdowns and chats and stuff. But I feel like there is a sort of freedom with Patreon where you don't need to worry really at all about copyright or about running into problems. I mean, I still edit them. I know there's a lot of people that once they decide to put content on Patreon, I do know some people who do unedited or uncut reactions. My nerves wouldn't let me do that. I'm like, no, it still needs to be transformative and cut up and edited and different in some way, but there is a sort of freedom, I guess, with Patreon that I can do X, Y, and Z shows, and there's a movie day each week, and live streams over there feel a lot more manageable because it's a smaller number of people, and you get to kind of know people's names, and you get to know where they're from, what they've been up to.
Right. It becomes your own personal little community.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then with YouTube, I recently started. I think I started it with Mandalorian. I think I started putting the cut down 10-minute reactions up on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it was House of Dragon was the first one you did. Yeah.
Oh, It might have been. You'd know more
Yeah.
than me. Like I said, I mean, God, there's so many shows at the moment that my poor brain can't handle it.
Because
But
that was a big shift, you know, a big choice to put that out for your channel. And again, like it's you're jumping into such a rabid fandom for Game of Thrones, something that's, you know, big but also tumultuous in its own right with people's opinions on it. And House of the Dragon was such a huge return for people to come back and be convinced that they need to dedicate their time to it again. At that time, what was the feeling going into that and like starting something new that had a big fandom, but that was going to be another public, you know, display for yourself?
yeah, I mean, I've taken on shows like that before because, like I said, I love media, and I'm someone who I'm like, okay, if I have no idea about a universe, especially with Patreon, I'm like, teach me. You know, like I
Right.
started Doctor Who reactions pretty much from the beginning. Well, not the beginning, from Eccleston, I think is his
Yeah,
name.
the new era
Yeah.
of Eccleston. Yeah.
And I made it very clear. I was like, guys, I ain't never seen Doctor Who in my life, okay? Please don't yell at me if I get names wrong. Please don't yell at me if I don't like a fan favorite, because I'm going to be honest, you
Right.
know? So, like, I'd experienced that, I guess, a bit with Doctor Who and with Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. Very well loved, long-running shows. I watched Game of Thrones one summer with my mom. We did, oh my God, I think it was the first 4 seasons. They were on, they were doing like a marathon of them. And neither me nor my mom had seen it. And we were like, she loves fantasy. She loves that whole world. I generally don't, surprisingly. But we sat down anyway. We binged all 4 seasons. And then we were like, that was really good.
Yeah.
And then she continued on and I didn't. I just never got back into it.
Yeah.
So there came a time then on Patreon that I was like, hey, like, would you guys be interested in Game of Thrones reactions? Because I never finished it and I wasn't a part of the hype when it ended. I know people weren't happy, but, you know, I could start from season 1, I guess, and try and refresh things. But again, please don't get mad at me if I can't remember names or stuff, you know, because
Right.
it's such a huge world.
It's very dense.
And
Yeah.
no, everyone was super like receptive and supportive of that. So I did that. And then House of Dragon was announced and I was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And then when I started posting the 10-minute versions to YouTube, I was like, this isn't as fun as it was. People are super passionate
They are.
about
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, and like, I get it. Walking Dead is my thing. I get what it is to be like a super fan. But that's probably one of the times I felt a bit out of my depth, I'd say, that I didn't feel totally confident with everything I was saying or parallels that I was drawing because I was still quite new to that world,
Right.
you know? But yeah, I wanted to try and put a little bit of something onto the channel just to see. And after House of Dragon, it was Mando, and that's another one. I ain't never seen a Star Wars movie in my life.
Really.
And never. I hadn't. And then when Mando was announced, I was like, this looks super cool. And my brother, he was so psyched for this. And he was like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. So I think I did season 1 reactions for Mando on Patreon. And then again, everyone was super chill, super like kind. And they were filling in blanks for me. And they were like, oh, this big thing happened, but you didn't get it because you haven't seen whatever.
Right.
And then people were like, you should totally go back and do the movies, you know? So I did. I did all of them. And I was like, Jesus, this is a lot.
Yeah. There's
Wow.
there's a lot. Yeah.
That's a huge universe. But
It
yeah,
is.
and then
Yeah.
I just had fun with them. Even though like with The Walking Dead, I am quite confident with my knowledge and with having fun and playing around with it. It was nice trying out new shows on YouTube that I wasn't totally comfortable, you know, with stuff like that. It was fun.
Yeah. Did you? I guess because you did House of Dragon, Mando, and then Last of Us. The Last of Us was like a big one. Was that something that sort of felt a little more natural to you because it's very similar to The Walking Dead in many ways? And I think you had played the game beforehand.
Totally. Totally. I mean, I played the game with my brother. He was too young at the time to play it, and I made a deal with my mother at the time. Like at the time, he was 8 or 9, I think, maybe.
Right.
And he really wanted to play it, so I made a deal with my mom. I was like, look, I'll play it with him, and I'll tell him to go away at the scary parts. And then like the cool big sister that I was like, you can watch the scary parts if you want. So yeah, The Last of Us already was pretty special to me. I had very fond memories of it. And like you said, it felt so familiar to The Walking Dead that I was like, hell yeah, let's go, let's do this. And this, The Last of Us, maybe is the first time that I felt that wow factor since the first time I watched The Walking Dead.
Right. Yeah. I think that's true. I think that I also played the game when it came out. It's like almost a decade ago now, around the time when The Walking Dead was still sort of, kicking up itself. Yeah. And it has that very, grounded feel of like being sort of right there with the characters, right there alongside them in the drama and like the stakes of it all. Is there any show I think that you are considering, for the channel that might feel similar, like not just for like, because it's a popular show or series that you want to jump into, but something that you think is like, that might be up my alley in the same vein?
In the same vein as like The Last of Us and The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Not really. I think did I consider, oh God, what's it called? It's not World War Z. It's the TV show it's about zombies as well. And there's a baby zombie somewhere.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I'm also blanking out on the name. It's like World Z or something like that.
Yeah. It's something like that. Yeah. Z Nation.
Z Nation. That's what it was.
Z Nation. That's the one. I think I was considering that for a while, but I think I had watched like a few episodes of it or something in my own time. Yeah, I don't think so. I think jumping into stuff like House of Dragon and stuff like Star Wars, they were things that I knew. I've had no experience. Well, with House of Dragon, I'd watched Game of Thrones, but like I knew I've had no experience with this. I feel like it could be up my alley, but it's still new enough that you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, I take a lot of feedback from people. I'm always like, especially on Patreon, it's very open communication. I'd always say to people like, hey, there's a show reaction coming to an end because I do 2 uploads a day. So if I'm doing reactions for shows like The X-Files and Buffy, and I think I'll be doing them until the day I die because there's so many seasons. Yeah. But like there's other shows that like I'm doing Heartstopper at the moment as well, which is a fantastic show. But that's coming to an end. So when the reactions for that end, I always throw out the question, is there anything that you guys particularly want to see? Maybe, an old classic or a newer show that I mightn't have heard of. So it's very much a two-way street. And I kind of trust the opinion of people who know me and my vibe. And they haven't steered me wrong yet when it comes to shows. So yeah.
It's great to diversify in that regard, to just have it's like a juggling act of shows and stuff to work with for your personal community. Is there a, God forbid, is there a doomsday scenario you have for if the Walking Dead universe ever comes to an official end, like no more spinoffs, no more shows?
I remember people asking me that way back when I was doing The Walking Dead, but when I started doing The Walking Dead, and it was like, I don't know how to phrase it, but the best way I can phrase it is, I didn't have a plan then, and I don't have a plan now. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just vibing. I'm just doing my thing for whatever reason. People like my content, or they feel like they can connect with my love or passion for shows. And it's like, as long as that's there, I'll keep going. I mean, with the spin-offs and stuff, I mean, you've Fear's coming to an end as well, Fear the Walking Dead. But you have Dead City, you've Daryl's show, you have Rick and Michonne's show, and Tales as well. So, like, there is content there, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'd find a way. I'll always find something to talk about. I'll always find something to obsess over. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's no shortage of our love for the show that will go on afterwards.
True. And like I said, I'm just someone, I just want to talk. And as long as there's people that listen, I'm like I said, like with shows and the open communication that I have, I'm like, I would very much just throw out a question like, what do you guys want to see? If Doomsday, like you said, The Walking Dead just stops tomorrow morning, they all decide no more spin-offs, and that was it, I'd be like, 1, shit, and 2, what do you guys want to see? Help me out, Yeah. Yeah, that's probably how that would go. And I should have asked you, am I allowed to swear on here? Because I don't remember if I asked.
Yes, that's perfectly fine. Yeah,
Okay. I've been trying to be good, but
I would
sometimes it
never
slips
dream to
out.
ask you not to swear.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate it. I've been trying to be good.
Yeah. um, do you have any, I guess, a future for the future looking forward? Do you have any other milestones you're, looking to hit for the channel? If it's just in terms of like, personal improvement for the gear, your sets, your background, and anything that you're hoping to like sort of, build up to.
Yeah. I think I'm quite a restless person, so what I want and my goals are always shifting, they're always changing. I wish they'd stop, but like I'm the one that changes them. Like yeah, when it comes to like my background and stuff, I'm super into collecting merch. I'm
Hmm.
super into collectibles, and I always have been. Super into collecting that. So it's silly things like build up my collection. I'd like to eventually level all my background out and have identical bookcases and bookshelves that are completely level. Everything is balanced
Right.
and everything looks good. I don't think I'll ever get there because I'm so scatterbrained and the background reflects it. There's stuff everywhere. I'm like, yeah, nothing lines up. There's like 7 different bookcases going on in the background. In regards to like my channel, I think it's maybe because I never set out with the intention to do what I do, that numbers were never a huge concern for me. As long as I'm motoring away and I'm putting out content and I'm happy and there's people there to receive it and there's people that enjoy it, I'm happy. I mean, like with Yellow Jackets, I do Yellow Jacket reactions on YouTube.
Hmm.
And they don't do anywhere near as well as the Walking Dead reactions did. But the
Right.
people that like them, because people love that show and they're super invested and they're like, oh my God, someone else who's watching this show. Because for some reason, it's not a very well-known show, which is nuts because it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm one of those people. I think I commented on your first video saying how excited I was that
Yo,
you were
no
reacting to it.
way!
Yeah, because my partner is actually friends with the showrunner, Ashley Lyle, and she for Misty, she was like, this character reminds me of something I've seen. And she looked at Ashley Lyle's Twitter page, and she has a banner on her Twitter page for the film Welcome to the Dollhouse. And she realized it's one of her favorite movies. She's like, this character is 100% based off of Welcome to the Dollhouse, the movie starring Heather Matarazzo, and she's friends with Heather Matarazzo as well. So she set up a dinner between Ashley Lyle, Heather Matarazzo, and all three of them went out to get drinks.
No.
And she was like, yeah, like I that is like totally my inspiration for it. And even in later, I won't spoil anything. Later down the line, you'll see a little cameo of the movie. Welcome to the Dollhouse in the background somewhere.
No way,
Yeah,
that's awesome. What a keen
yeah.
eye to pick up on that.
Yeah, she because it was one of her favorite movies growing up, and so when she saw it, she's like, "This resonates very closely to something," and she figured it out. And so that became one of our favorite shows. We just finished season 2 for it, and yes, I was really excited when I saw you starting to react to it because, like you said, it has a really dedicated fandom, but it's not like a huge show right
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
yeah. And like it's something so different and so out there that I feel like hasn't really been done before.
Hmm.
With characters that are so they make you want to both shake them with rage and also wrap them up in a blanket and protect them. You know what I'm saying? Their characters are
Right.
so
Yeah.
complex. It's fascinating. But yeah, I was never that concerned with numbers. Or it's amazing to see growth. I mean, my channel still steadily ticks away slowly.
Hmm.
But I never got into the number game. I was never obsessed with that. It's not why I did it. It's not why I
Right.
still do it,
Yeah.
because if it was, you'd drive yourself crazy and you'd lose sight of why you're doing what you do. So in terms of like goals or things I'd like to do, I think interviews and chats is something I'd like to focus on and get
Hmm.
into. It's just hard when when it's just you and you're representing yourself and you're trying to talk to someone, you're like, just trust me. Just
Yeah.
trust me,
Yeah.
it'll be fun, I promise.
Right.
Getting yeses is difficult.
Yeah.
But that's
Totally.
that's definitely something that I'd love to get into more going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess to slowly, wrap things up here, I want to ask, in that regard for, your own sort of personal investment in the channel, I would ask how do you feel you've grown, over the last several years with your channel, personally, just like, sort of in a larger abstract sense?
It's very hard to put into words, but I think I can credit an awful lot of who I am and what I've become to my channel and to whatever kind of presence I have online. because I am quite shy, and I am, surprisingly, you mightn't know it, but I am quite shy in real life, and I, growing up, was always very invested in movies, shows, actors, music, whatever it might have caught my attention that particular month. And I always found that people around me never really felt the same way. And if I said, oh, I love this show, I might meet someone who would go, oh, I love it too. Whereas I would be able to quote the behind the scenes featurette. They mightn't even know what the lead actor's name is. And I'm like, oh. So I would always feel the need to kind of dial myself down or rein it back in a little bit, And yeah, through doing social media, I'm like, I don't feel the need to do that anymore. I'm like, no, I mean, yeah, especially through reading comments, you're always going to be too much for someone. You're going to be too loud or too reserved, or you're going to be too much yourself or too bland. People will find a reason to not like you. And that is something that I struggled with quite a bit, particularly in the beginning. And then I just stopped giving a fuck, and it is very much a case of, I got a comment like that recently that was like, you talk way too much.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to get that all the time at the beginning of the Walking Dead reactions. I mean, every second comment, why do you talk so much? Why are you always talking? And I'm like, did you click on a video expecting silence? Because I'm so sorry. But in a way, it's like, my channel is like, it's my little setup. It's my little place. And if someone, walks into my home and tries to tell me be quiet, I'll be like, there's the door. Off you go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of confidence and devil-may-care attitude, I don't know that I would have come to this place without having to deal with it and having to face that kind of scrutiny. As much as I did with being online, even silly things down to like swearing. I'm not a very sweary individual. I swear a perfectly adequate amount, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, even something as simple as that, having a constant stream of opinions on that was a lot to do with. Especially I was 19 when I started, But I feel like being online, having a channel, it's made me more outgoing. It's made me a bit more ballsy. It's made me feel more like, well, especially like with the interviews, if you don't try, you'll never know. You can sit and wonder what if forever. And I've had people message me or say like, look, I'd love to get into doing what you do. What advice do you have? And my advice is always just do it. Just find a way to make it happen. You don't need the best equipment. You don't need the top of the range stuff. If the passion is there and the personality is there and you truly love what you're making content on, it's going to shine.
Right.
But I don't know that I would have become that secure in myself if I hadn't dealt with the last few years online. And it really has helped. It's helped with confidence. It's helped with the way I fall in love with things now, the way I would fall in love with the show. And like with The Last of Us, I mean, that hit me like a train to the face. Right. Like that show from, and it happened in real time. And other people were like, dude, you're crazy. Like you're obsessed. And I'm there crying on camera. Like, I know I am. I don't even know that, back at the beginning of the Walking Dead reactions, I don't know that I would have been that myself.
Yeah.
And that's so sad to think that people feel the need to dilute themselves or dial it down or hide your flame, whatever that may be. So I guess that's one of my proudest things, is that I've really eased into myself and grown as a person from everything that's happened the last few years.
That's great. It's a very beautiful note to wrap this up with. Truthfully, I
was just going to say that was a very long-winded answer. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. I do have one final questionnaire, our final 10 questions to wrap things up, inspired by the sort of Inside the Actor Studio press questionnaire to just give you 10 questions down the barrel. You can elaborate or not elaborate as much as you want. Let's get started. Question 1, which is, what is your favorite TV show? I think we might know that.
I don't think I've ever mentioned it on camera. I don't know. The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure. What is your favorite film?
Oh. I don't get asked that often. I would probably say The Crow.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I mean, not no judgment. I just like that. That's it makes sense. I just didn't see that coming, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching that when I was 13 or 14. It was my first real introduction to horror movies. I did like Bram Stoker's Dracula, all the classics. And I remember when I got to The Crow, it was a movie that my mom had loved. And I remember her telling me, I really liked this film. And I don't know, it was something about the soundtrack, the way it was shot, the kind of grungy vibe to it. That it hit at that sweet spot. I was the perfect age for that kind of aesthetic. And to this day, I actually rewatched it recently. I adore that movie. So The Crow.
Yeah, the aesthetic makes sense. I can see that. What
take it as a compliment.
What stresses you out?
The short answer would be what doesn't. What stresses me out? Not having something to do.
Yeah.
I always work best. I have lists for every day. I mean, I'm all about balance, family life, personal relationships, you time, downtime.
Totally.
And yeah, I feel like if I'm idle for too long, if I don't have something to do or something to work on, or if I'm not doing something for somebody, that stillness makes me very uneasy. Not a fan. So yeah, probably standing still.
I can see that. I can relate to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
What helps you relax?
Either music or my mom.
Mm-hmm.
The joke in my house is she is my chill pill. She really is. I don't know how she does it, but just her vibe, her aura relaxes me. I could be having the most stressful day. I could be in the worst mood. I could be like, don't come near me. The vibes are so not it. And she'll just come and sit and have a cup of tea, and within half an hour, I'm chill.
Yeah.
What was I stressed about? Don't even remember. My partner even laughs about it. He even says it to me if I get stressed. He's like, just go talk to your mom. Have you talked to your mom about it? Go talk to your mom. And I'm like,
yeah,
so true.
Good idea.
So yeah, either talking to her or music. I have a playlist for every possible scenario and different voices for different vibes. So music as well, yeah.
Great. That might answer our next question, which is what pastime do you enjoy outside of film and TV the most?
Yeah, concerts.
Concerts, yeah, I can see that.
Concerts. They've always
specifically concerts, like over just like music, yeah.
Yeah, concerts. They've always been one of my biggest loves. My first show ever was a band called McFly. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, they're an English band. My dad, God bless him, he had to sneak me in. I think it was an over 16s gig, and I was 11, and he went with me. We flew to London. It was my first time going to London, and I very nearly didn't get in. They were like, they needed my ID, and my dad was like, I'm her dad. We are in seated. She's not going to be in the mosh pit. She's going to be with me.
Yeah.
We eventually got in, thankfully. And from that first concert, when the lights go down, the music comes up, and it's the atmosphere, it's everything about it. But I'm pretty selective when it comes to concerts. I'm not like a concert goer in terms of I'll go see anybody.
All right.
It has to be someone that I love.
That makes sense. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Like last week, I ditched my whole family for Harry Styles, and I was like, sorry, but I'm not at all. I'm going. Yeah.
What would be your dream profession besides reacting, or maybe whatever profession you might have now?
There was a long time I wanted to become a counselor. I wanted to work with the youth. So like young adults, teens. I really, really was interested in that. And I still kind of am. I got accepted into college for that, actually. The arts always interested me. So things like photography or things like that. But I always liked the idea of being a counselor or a therapist, specifically dealing with the youth, teens and stuff. Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they could do with someone to tell them it's okay. It's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay.
I relate. My parents are both teachers, and my sister works with children. So yeah, it's kind of a family thing as well. Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Short Term 12?
Who's in it?
Brie Larson is the main character in it.
Yes, I have. Is Ryan Gosling also in that?
He's not. No, it is John Gallagher Jr. and a handful of other actors that went out to Rami Malek. If you have not,
Malek.
If you have not, I would suggest it. It's my favorite film.
I have. No, it rang a bell with me, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, I've seen it, but why did I watch it? Rami Malek. I have seen it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite film of all time.
Great movie.
Yeah. What? So this is this is an obvious answer. I ask everyone else this, but what show gave you your favorite reaction experience? I would say let's the obvious answer might be Walking Dead. So let's go beyond that. If one of the other shows for your Patreon or for the new shows on the channel, like which one of those shows do you think is giving you your favorite reaction experience?
For me to sit down and film it?
Yeah, film it, like your memories of doing it, the reception to it.
Probably The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably The Last of Us, because like I said, it was one of the first shows that really, I feel like it reawoken like my obsessive love for TV, you know? Like just took it to that next level that I hadn't felt in a long time. And yeah, it brought a whole bunch of new people in, new people to talk shows about, or talk stuff about shows and compare and contrast to other TV shows that we'd seen. And it really gave me back my spark. And yeah, shortly after, it was somewhere near the end, I think. I woke up one morning to see that Pedro had followed me on Instagram. And I spent all morning crying. I'm not joking.
That's amazing. I mean, we can see obviously the poster behind you, how important that might be.
I don't see anything behind me. No, I'm very chill. I don't have nothing behind me. But I'd loved him since Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
Especially because, like, you know, Oberyn, he was one of my first experiences with a bisexual character on TV. And that was just hugely impactful to me at, I don't know, I was 14 or 15. Back when I first watched, because like I said, I got from season 1 to season 4, I think. And when I'd first seen Oberyn, it was one of the first times I'd seen a bi character who wasn't the butt of the joke, who wasn't, you know, being laughed at in some way. And that had a huge impact on me. And then I followed Pedro's career and would catch up on anything he'd acted in or anything he'd been in. And then with The Last of Us, he was just incredible. Yeah. And so to have somebody who I hold that highly, you know, say anything kind. I mean, spoke incredibly briefly to him. Just a quick like, hey man, love what you do, you know? And he'd seen a video or two. And just hear a kind word like that from somebody like him. And I'm sure he's aware. I'm sure actors or actresses like him or creatives, be it directors, producers, showrunners, they know how a kind comment or, you know, a well-placed like can completely up somebody's mood and bring someone up on a down day, you know? So that The Last of Us will always be special for that reason. For many others, but that reason too.
It's a good reason. What film or show do you wish you could erase from your memory and rewatch on camera for the first time again?
Oh, I thought we were going somewhere dark with that I could erase to like never watch it. I was like, ooh, there's some of them.
To rewatch it, to share the experience with on camera as a reaction.
Maybe Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because I know the excitement I got going into the Star Wars universe, knowing nothing, having not seen it, and it was echoed a lot. People were like, whoa. Very rarely, like, you know, did we encounter someone who hasn't seen anything Star Wars. And that was exciting for me, and it was exciting for them. And I adore Lord of the Rings. I think it's a fantastic franchise. I love The Hobbit as well. Rings of Power. I don't know how I feel about that, but the movies, the 2 trilogies, I'd love to erase and get to experience for the first time. Or maybe Twilight. The Twilight franchise.
That'd be a fun one, I think.
Yeah, because I did like a commentary style video for Twilight, but I made it very clear. I was like, guys, I've seen this film a bazillion times, and I will speak along with the dialogue to prove it to you, which I could do. So that was more of just a commentary than a reaction. But I think the idea of sitting down to watch Twilight for the first time in 2023, that would be a trippy experience.
Yeah, totally.
That would be fun. Yeah.
And our final question, what advice would you give to your past self when you first started the channel?
I've asked people that question before, but I don't think I've ever been asked it. How dare you put me in the seat that I put others in?
In the hot spot.
Probably to just be a bit bolder. Have more faith in yourself. And I think that's advice I could still live by to an extent. I have a way of catastrophizing things. So I would take a opportunity or a possibility that could be on the horizon, and I will either talk myself out of it or catastrophize it to the point where even if the thing happens, I've been so stressed in the lead up that it zapped the fun out of it. Back in the day, I lost out on so many experiences and things that would have been good for me, just, as a person, because I was too scared. I was too scared to go somewhere, or I was too scared to do something, or I was too scared to walk into a room full of people. I mean, one of the first Walker Stalkers after my channel started really getting big, I very nearly didn't go because of anxiety. And it was my mom that was like, we're here. We're in the hotel. You have your passes. You've got your photo ops. You're going to, you're going to go and you're going to have a great time. But if she hadn't been there, I don't know what I would have done. Would I have run away? So I would just tell myself, have a bit more faith in you, and not even necessarily your abilities. Just have faith in whatever is meant to be will happen and it will work out. And if it doesn't, then move on. It wasn't meant to be. Or it might circle back and get you at a later date.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good advice, truthfully, because I had similar experience again, finding the schmodown and eventually being here now with the confidence I have to speak with the people that I want to hear about. And again, to wrap things up, you were one of the first voices I wanted to speak with for this space, for this whole community of people. I think your contributions to it are invaluable, truthfully, over the years. I'm very happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me and for giving me the time to talk. I don't think I've talked about a lot of what I talked about tonight, which is crazy, given the fact you think I would have. Man, that means so much. And like you said, it makes it feel a bit more real. Having someone say it to you, or having someone say, no, like, oh yeah, I remember that video, or I remember when you started, and I'm there going, because I don't. That really means a lot to me. Like I said, it really does mean an awful lot as well that you thought of me, that you thought to reach out and to shoot me the message. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and it was absolutely wonderful time getting to sit and talk.
Thank you. That's what we're here for. So thank you guys for listening. If you find this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share, all that good stuff. If you found it through the newsletter, please share that as well to spread the good word. We can always use more views on that, obviously. And we'll see you around on the next episode. Have a good one.